Phytoplankton and the red tide. Phytoplankton name and information. Common name, plankton. Scientific name, phytoplankton. Common name, red tide. Scientific name, algae bloom. 7 characteristics of life. Phytoplankton are unicellular phototrophs. They are autotrophs, meaning they produce their own food and food for others. They inhabit the top sunlit areas of the ocean, meaning they use photosynthesis to produce energy. Phytoplankton produce half of the world's photosynthesis. They are seen as primary producers. The growth strategy for phytoplankton is grouped into 2. Survivalist plankton have a high rate of N to P, and bloomers have a low rate of N to P. Phytoplankton reproduce sexually. They use specialized appendages to grab onto their potential mate. They do this so their mate won't drift away. Other plankton release sperm into the open water and females will pick them up to fertilize, similar to what spores do. Depending on the type of phytoplankton, the sperm and egg can be released at the same time to increase the odds of fertilization. Although some plankton reproduce asexually through budding and binary fission, aquatic plankton, including phytoplankton, don't. Living things adapt, and so do phytoplankton. They have adapted to deal with low iron supply by finding new sources, as explained above. They've also adapted to have flat bodies and lateral spines which allow them not to sink. Phytoplankton respond to their environment. An example of this is when they wish to reproduce, they will reach out and connect with a mate using specialized appendages. Phytoplankton use iron to maintain homeostasis. The plankton was evolved to be able to live with low iron supply, as it can be sporadic. Instead, they get their long-term iron supply from fertile, a protein found in the ocean. Life cycle. Life cycle of a phytoplankton can be broken up into 4 stages: growth, sex, kinesis, and cell death. Growth is a stage where the plankton's biomass increases severely. The plankton is in a vegetative state at this time. Sex is a stage where the plankton's fusion of the N1 cells and meiosis occurs. The gender of the plankton is determined during this time. Kinesis is a stage where metabolic rate reduces greatly. Cell division also slows, meaning they are not growing as much. This stage also refers to a cyst or a spore that is being covered by a resisting wall and looks noticeably different. Cell death is the stage where parts of the plankton's life where it dies. Most plankton only live several months. The red tide. Red tide is a name used to describe the incredible phenomenon where algae blooms cause discoloration of seawater, leading to beautiful sights. The algae/plankton populations in a certain area accumulate and expand greatly in a short amount of time. The event of a red tide happens in fresh marine or estuarine water where phytoplankton, also known as algae, accumulate near the surface in abundance. When the water is discolored with phytoplankton, it can appear red, brown, green, or pink. Interesting chemistry. Phytoplankton are responsible for creating 90% of the world's oxygen. Why are phytoplankton so nourishing? Because their cells are 5 times smaller than red blood cells, giving them the ability to penetrate and nourish cells faster. How do phytoplankton help cellular health? They help by giving the necessary electron that provide more oxygen, the ability to regenerate. They also provide the necessary amino acids and fatty protein. What medical benefits does the red tide and plankton have? The antioxidants in the plankton found in abundance in the red tide are being used in a new drug called Brevinol. Brevinol is used to treat cystic fibrosis. The new drug appears to be more effective at this point than past treatments but hasn't been tested long term. When fish consume neurotoxic shellfish poisoning and then are consumed by humans, they cause respiratory symptoms and skin irritations. Why can the red tide's color vary? Because certain groups of phytoplankton can obtain different colors through photosynthesis. Aerosol is the name of the chemical produced by the red tide. Benefits and problems of the red tide. Problems. The red tide can cause multitude of problems. Environmentally, the tide is responsible for large fish deaths. The red tide causes normal plants to overgrow and produce toxins that are harmful to fish and make shellfish unedible. These toxins can also be released into the air, causing respiratory problems. When all of the plankton die, the mass number of them in the red tide deplete the oxygen in the ocean, harming and causing more competition for other animals. The red tide has also endangered the manatee species and clogged coral reefs. Economically, the red tide causes losses to businesses and the tourist industry. Benefits and problems of the red tide and medical issues. Benefits. The red tide also has many benefits. The energy plants that are produced provide major energy boosts for ocean life. The antioxidants in the plankton found in abundance in the red tide are being used in a new drug called brephenol. Brephenol is used to treat cystic fibrosis. The new drug appears to be more effective at this point than past treatments but hasn't been tested long term. Although red tides are naturally frequent, their frequency is being increased due to human disruptions. Scientists are currently working on how to predict and prevent future algae blooms. When all is in balance, algae/plankton shouldn't overproduce, but runoff and tailings cause an extreme increase in the nutrients available to the organisms and lead to overproduction. The NOAA is developing technology involving an underwater sand system that will predict harmful red tides. Although red tides are pretty to look at from afar, they cause more damage and have more harmful effects than positive ones. Bibliography. The end.